What's going on, everybody? My name is Trevor, amateur radio call sign KJ7OCP. And today we're going to be constructing my shack-a box. I've got all the parts all laid out here, ready to go for it. So all we need to do is just get it in the box. And I'll just kind of be walking through what all the pieces are as we go, and what is doing what, everything like that. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about, so here's the shelf, one of the shelves. This is the shelf that's got all the radio stuff on it. So this one right here is my QIT 980 Plus. This is like one of those cheap Chinese radios, just VHF, UHF, 2 meter, 7 centimeter stuff. Works great. I had it in my car for like 3 years and it works really well. Worked really, really well. So I decided to throw it in the box. The speaker on the front, it's not that great, but I do have a speaker that I'm going to be throwing in there, so I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, the speaker on this guy isn't fantastic. It's not terrible, but it's not fantastic. So we're going to be using an external one for that. And then obviously here's my G90. I don't know if you guys have ever seen me use this thing, but I've had it since well before I got my General. So, and it's the only rig that I have that does HF stuff. So we're throwing that in the box. And the next shelf I have here, and this is kind of where things get interesting. So if I show you this, everybody knows this is a average like power supply you'd find in a house, right? This is just something you'd find in your house. Wouldn't really use this in a box, but that's kind of where things get a little bit interesting, and I'll explain all that in a little bit. And then I have my CE19 here for the G90, so I can do digital stuff over. So I can have this whole thing be portable and still be able to do digital without having to carry a separate thing. It's in the box. Everything is already in there, ready to go. That was the plan behind that. And this is also the shelf where the speaker is going to go for the 2 meter, 70 centimeter radio. I just don't have it on there yet. Last piece, this is a power strip. This is a power strip. It's got an on-off switch on the front here. There's an outlet on the front there. There's also a bunch of outlets on the back. And I told you this is where things get interesting, and I'll explain that here in just a minute. Let me go over here and grab. So this is the wire that I was going to grab. This is the cord that runs my power supply. So this goes in the back, the standard, and then standard house plug. So what I do is I take this and plug it into the back of the power supply, power bar, and plug it into the back of the radio, or plug the other end into the back of the power supply. And all I have to do is flip the power strip on and then flip the power supply on, and I can get all the radios on. I've already had this together once. I've already put it together once because I wanted to make sure everything was going to fit the way that I intended, and I've powered it on and everything works great, so I'm not too worried about it right now. So the next bit that I wanted to show off is this is the thing that powers everything, and this is why I went with the regular house plug, because it has that on it, and all I got to do is push the button and it comes on. So that was the reason I did with the kind of household style power supply. Also, I had to buy a separate cable for my G90. So everyone knows the G90 has the two plug. You plug it into, it's on the side here for the little fan module, and then plugs it into the radio. And you can use the Anderson power pole style connectors on the back into the power supply. So my power supply, I'm not really sure what happened, but the power pole connectors just kind of quit working on it. I gotta get a new power supply anyway. That's why everything in this box is modular the way it is. I'll explain how modular it is here in a minute, but so I had to get a new cable for that. So it's just power pole style to pigtail style. So you just attach those onto the front here of the power supply, and then everything works great. There's one piece that I haven't talked about yet in this box, and it's this guy right here. So this is gonna go on the back side, so it's gonna be outside of view. But this is probably my favorite part of the whole box. So you have your antenna connection here and here. So I have one for VHF, one for HF, right? Then I have here, this is just a USB-A female to USB-A female. It's a pretty fancy little connector. So I just plug the cable that came with my radio. So this is the one that came with the G90. So I plug that into the back here like that. And it kind of acts like a pass-through. I have a USB-A to USB-A that I plug in here and then into my laptop, and I can do like rig control on it. So that's a pretty fancy little cable. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is these two little 3.5 millimeters that are coming off the back of this thing here. Just like this one, it's just a pass-through. So I have a female side here and then a male side here. So I can plug this into the radio and then plug my audio cables into here, because we know that with the G90 that it's kind of weird because you can't just plug it into a computer and it just does everything. You have to have the audio cables and everything, and I'll explain all that when I get it all put together. Yeah, it's fine. All right, so I had to move a couple things around a little bit. I apologize for that. But all I've done is I've installed this piece right here, the power strip. It's not all the way screwed in yet. There we go. And make sure this one gets nice and screwed in there. So this power supply, these two holes are here. It's supposed to line up with the holes that are here, right? However, it's a little short. So this right here doesn't quite line up with the holes. So I can only put one on the tops. So it's either just the tops or just the bottoms. So I opted just to put ones on the top, just so I could have some room down here for airflow. And my little stubby screwdriver. All right, so the next step is I actually go ahead and take the power cord for the power supply of the radios, and I plug it in now, so that way it's in, so I'm not reaching around in the bottom here because it does get covered. So I can't reach in there and be in plugging this stuff in, so go ahead and plug it in, and I just leave it back right now. So the next piece is going to be the shelf for the radios. That's going to be the next piece that I installed. Let me go grab some screws. This part gets a little tricky with one person. Alrighty, that shelf is in. So now I'm going to put the next shelf in. Alrighty, both shelves are in, just the way I wanted them in. Everything is perfect on that. The only thing that's missing right here is the speaker. I'm still kind of working on how I'm going to do that one, so let me grab it. Alrighty, so this is the speaker I got. This is just a, actually I can't remember what the brand was on it. I know it's a Radiolity brand, but that's all I know off the top of my head. I also grabbed, so I want this box to be modular. And what I mean by that is these are all held down by 3M strips. The Velcro ones, you can just rip it off, put a new one on. I did that kind of on purpose because I want this box to be as modular as possible. So that way, when I get a new power supply, just take the old one off, put new 3M strips on the new power supply, slap it back into place, call it good. My CE19 back here is actually being held down by the little bread twist ties, because if that thing goes out and I gotta get a new one, boom, it's easy. So my plan for the speaker was to do the same, because I actually had a 3M strip on the bottom here, but it just wasn't sticking. It was always falling over inside the box, making me really angry. So, I guess I'll just have to put it in and kind of just see how I can get it in and see how it'll fit. This probably would have been better if the shelf was out. I got that tied in and completely missed the speaker. All right, so that's about as in as I can get it for right now. It's just in with a little twist tie. I just call it good enough for right now. All right, I've turned the box around for this part. We're gonna do the back side. So the next thing I'm gonna do, see how I was talking about there's a bunch of space underneath here. It might be a little bit difficult to see. There's a bunch of space in here. There's about an inch of space right back here. And just kind of shove all the power cables underneath there just so everything is, you know, semi-organized. And all I do is, and the power supply to the radios is plugged in. Just like that. I actually don't want to do it that way. Hold on. I'll do it this way, so that way when I pull out this cable, which plugs into the jackery, I don't rip out the other cable by accident. The backside is not something you're going to be looking at very often. You notice I kind of just have a bundle of wires here? Yeah. The backside is not something you're going to be looking at often. So I just kind of needed something so I could put it out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in the speaker as well now that I've got it kind of in place. However, I'm going to shorten up this cable because it's kind of a long cable. That's in. I'm trying to tuck all the wires kind of, because there's like a couple panels like in the side right here I can run wires down. So I'm trying to tuck everything in those so that way I can kind of hide them a little bit better. That's good. One more. I like the use of these twist ties because it really allows me to, this bunch of cable that's here for the speaker, I can just tie the whole thing down. There's just this bunch of wire right here, but it's not like in the way. It's just kind of there, which is okay. All right, so this is the cable that runs to the 2-meter radio, the 8900 plus, or the 980 plus, that one. Oh, stab myself in the eye with this. Like the same thing here, just take the cables, kind of shove them underneath there. Let me find the little T connector for this guy. We'll install it, get it plugged in, and kind of tuck it away. Go up the side of the box with the connectors, the power cables. Just kind of tuck them away up there for a minute. And the last one is this guy. Plug that into the radio and then just kind of shove these around there. So in terms of power, everything's got it. I'm gonna tuck this underneath here for a minute. This is where this is gonna live when I get everything in place. I'll just flip the box back around and take these off. Close. Okay, red to red, and red to red. And I think get a little bit more cable up here. Black to black and black to black. That's cross really bad. Okay, yeah, it'll be fine until I need to take it off. That'll be a problem. All right, so everything's kind of hooked into power. Just make sure everything's not being pulled too tightly. I know there's kind of a bit of tension on these two back here, but I think they'll be all right. They're pretty thick cable. I think they'll be okay. Okay, next step. Next step is to run kind of the miscellaneous wires that I have. Whoa, I just moved the whole table. Okay, so this one goes to the accessory on the G90. And again, I'm just going to use little twist ties to get everything where I want it. It's actually going to be a little bit of a pain because of where everything sits. So I put this little twist tie there. A little bit of slack in the cable as sort of a tension relief. So in case anything falls apart in there, it doesn't yank on the cable and ruin anything. And so now we go here, we go under, pull this guy out. And we go up and plug in right there to the CE19 at the top. And I got a lot of extra cables, so I'm going to try and pull some of that through, pull it down a little bit. That'll be good. Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I don't like about the the CE19. The G90 is kind of the thing that I don't like about it is the fact that it needs this extra attachment to do audio stuff, but I suppose I didn't design the radio, so I don't really have a say in that battle. But one more time here, I'm going to take this and strap it down. This one's more or less for the CE19 so that it doesn't fly around in the box because it's not down very tight. Alright, look and see. I guess that's not what I need. Alright, and then the cable that comes with the radio. That's not right, it's that one. There we go. And we're set there. Okay, now for, I need those. This guy. I think this guy is probably my favorite part of this whole box. I love this, the design of this. I think it's awesome. So, I'm going to take these little patch cables. I'm going to plug one side into the back of these. These are just in with duct tape because they weren't big enough to actually screw to the plate, so I just had to put them in somehow, so I just got duct tape and put them on. Don't judge me. Okay. That's just gonna work. Alrighty. Now we're just gonna hook this piece in. Okay, now I'm gonna try and install this. I gotta take it back off. And this guy goes in. Okay. Alright, let's keep sliding. It does kind of become a mess of cables back here, doing things this way, but it's not the end of the world. You're not meant to look at the cables anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. Okay, so the USB cable is plugged in. And I'm going to plug in all the antenna connections. So I got one that goes into the radio itself, and then one that comes up into this guy right here. And this is just like a pass-through, coax pass-through. So all I got to do is plug in an antenna on this side. And it goes for both sides. And all of a sudden I'm too short on this side. There we go. All right, and then I got one final piece, which is this. It's not used for what you think it is. So you know how I have these two here? The two audio cables here that go into the G90 so that I can do digital modes with them. Unfortunately, this one isn't long enough to go where I need it to go. So this is just like a little extension for it. So all I do is I plug this side into here. And I plug this one up into the front. Let me go around. So now if I ever decided to use headphones with this radio, which I have before, it's not great, I still have access to it. So I can still put headphones in if I decide to. Well, that's the box. It's all put together. So now what I'm going to do flip it around and whip out the jackery. Oh, it's backwards. There we go. And I'll plug the jackery in. 83%. Should last us a quick little test. Oh, I can turn that on. There's a little fan that kicks on. That tells me that I'm okay to turn that on. And I can turn that on. Power supply kicked on. I can hear the fan. There's the 980 plus kicking on, which for some reason it comes on automatically. Not real sure why. It's not supposed to do that. And G90's on. So that's the box. It's all hooked up. But now comes the best part. Okay, so I said I was going to pick up my phone for this part, but the radios are both on. I got an audio cable here and a USB cable here. Go to the side of my computer. And let's see. Red goes here. Black goes here. And the USB cable goes here. Huh, interesting. I didn't know there's lead on that. Alright, so we set the COM port on it, on everything on the G90. So we're here on FL Digi. And as soon as I click in it, it should kind of fluctuate. I already was up so high, my bad. I should be able to click this button. Boom. So it's talking to the radio. So now what I should be able to do is pull up the JTX here. And all I gotta do is press the volume button. So it sends the audio through the computer. Alrighty, sorry about that. I had to do some quick little troubleshooting on there. But it's all working now. I wasn't reading the sound card for some reason. Not really sure what was going on there, but it's all fine now. We're all nice and set up. That's the installation. I don't really have a chance to use it right now. I'm not in a spot where I could go out and test it yet. We're getting there soon though. It is February right now, so there's still a bunch of snow on the ground. So once we get everything kind of all melted down a little bit more, because it's pretty melted, but once we get a little bit more and the ground kind of dries out so it's not so muddy, I got some places we can go and hook this up and test it out. So until then, that's about all I got for you this time, guys. Thanks for watching.